Poland's missile dilemma, duty calls at NATO's edge. In a bold move that's raising eyebrows across Europe, Poland's Foreign Minister Radoslaw Sikorski has thrown down the gauntlet, declaring it's Warsaw's duty to shoot down Russian missiles even if they're still soaring over Ukrainian skies. This high-stakes game of aerial chicken comes as Ukraine faces its most intense bombardment since Putin's invasion began, with Kyiv's skyline lit up by explosions and debris raining down on nurseries. Sikorski's stance is a tightrope walk between national security and NATO cohesion, potentially dragging the alliance into direct conflict with Moscow. As Poland activates aircraft and Ukraine pleads for more aggressive support, the question looms: will NATO's eastern frontier become the new front line in this escalating conflict? With each intercepted missile, the world holds its breath, wondering if the next one could ignite a wider war. Kursk Incursion failed to stop Russian advances in Donbas. Putin. In a defiant address to schoolchildren in Siberia, Russian President Vladimir Putin dismissed Ukraine's bold incursion into Russia's Kursk region as a failed gambit that has done little to slow Moscow's relentless push in eastern Ukraine. Putin's words paint a picture of a Russian war machine undeterred by Kyiv's attempts to open a new front on Russian soil. Their calculation was to stop our offensive actions in key parts of the Donbas, Putin declared, his tone dripping with contempt. The result is known. They did not achieve stopping our advance in the Donbas. The Russian leader's statements come in the wake of Ukraine's surprise August 6 operation, which saw Ukrainian forces push across the border and establish a foothold in parts of Russia's Kursk region. This daring move has displaced an estimated 130,000 Russians and forced Moscow to confront a new reality. The war it started has now come home. Despite the shock of this incursion, Putin insists that Russia's military juggernaut continues to grind forward in the Donbas. The result is clear, he boasted. Yes, people are going through difficult experiences, especially in the Kursk region. But the main aim that the enemy had to stop our offensive in Donbas, it did not achieve. In fact, Putin claims that Russia's advances in eastern Ukraine are accelerating, progressing at a rate that we did not have for a long time. This assertion flies in the face of Kyiv's stated goal for the Kursk operation to stretch the Russian army thin and force it to pull reserves from the Donbas front lines. Putin says Russia is dealing with bandits. As the conflict in Kursk continues to simmer, Putin's rhetoric has taken a sharp turn. Gone is the measured language of a situation that has evolved. In its place, the Russian leader now speaks of bandits threatening his country's territorial integrity. We have to, of course, deal with these bandits that entered the territory of the Russian Federation, Putin snarled, his words dripping with disdain. He accused Ukrainian forces of attempting to destabilize the situation in the border areas, framing their incursion as an act of criminality rather than a military operation. This shift in language signals a potential escalation in Russia's response to the Kursk situation. By characterizing Ukrainian troops as bandits, Putin may be laying the groundwork for more aggressive action, both in Kursk and potentially within Ukraine itself. The Russian president's tough talk comes as Moscow grapples with the political and psychological impact of having the war spill onto Russian soil. With 130,000 Russians displaced from their homes in Kursk, the conflict has taken on a new, more personal dimension for many of Putin's citizens. Russia destroys 3 HIMARS. As the war of words escalates, Russia's military is trumpeting its own successes on the battlefield. In a flurry of claims that read like a shopping list of destroyed Western hardware, the Russian Defense Ministry announced the elimination of 3 prized U.S.-made HIMARS multiple launch rocket systems, operational tactical aircraft, unmanned aerial vehicles, missile troops, and artillery of the Russian groups of forces destroyed 3 U.S.-made HIMARS multiple rocket launchers, a transporter-loader vehicle, and foreign personnel responsible for their use, the ministry crowed in a statement dripping with satisfaction. These high-tech rocket launchers have been a thorn in Russia's side since their introduction to the battlefield, allowing Ukrainian forces to strike targets deep behind enemy lines with precision. By claiming their destruction, Moscow is sending a message that even the most advanced Western weapons are not invulnerable to Russian firepower. The Defense Ministry didn't stop there, painting a picture of widespread devastation inflicted on Ukrainian forces. They claimed to have struck massed enemy manpower and military hardware in 109 locations, while also destroying a workshop assembling unmanned aerial vehicles. U.S. fails to train Ukraine pilots on F-16. In a twist of irony that Moscow is eager to exploit, reports have emerged of a potential friendly fire incident involving the much-hyped F-16 fighter jets promised to Ukraine by its Western allies. Russian ambassador to Washington Anatoly Antonov couldn't resist taking a dig at what he portrayed as a comedy of errors. Local instructors have failed to train the Ukrainians, Antonov sneered, his words dripping with schadenfreude. I can imagine how they would shout if reports came that the hapless plane was brought down by our soldiers. The incident in question involves the crash of an F-16 under mysterious circumstances. While Ukraine's general staff confirmed the loss of the aircraft, they provided no details about how or where it occurred. This information vacuum has allowed speculation to run wild, with some Ukrainian officials even suggesting the jet may have been mistakenly shot down by their own Patriot missile battery. Antonov seized on this possibility, painting a picture of incompetence and failure in the U.S.-led training program for Ukrainian pilots. U.S. instructors have failed to train Ukrainian pilots on F-16 fighter jets, he declared, framing the incident as evidence of wider problems in the West's support for Ukraine. This alleged friendly fire incident, if confirmed, would be a significant embarrassment for both Ukraine and its Western backers. The F-16s have been touted as a potential game-changer in the conflict, offering Ukraine the ability to challenge Russian air superiority. A loss due to friendly fire would not only be a waste of a valuable asset, but also raise questions about the readiness of Ukrainian forces to operate such advanced systems. As the war in Ukraine grinds on, with battle lines shifting from the Donbas to Kursk and beyond, both sides continue to claim victories and downplay setbacks. In this high-stakes information war, every incident, whether a border incursion or a downed aircraft, becomes ammunition in the broader struggle for narrative control. Subscribe for more.